Your first 10 experiments will probably be inconclusive. You'll just be learning how to run experiments, if you can run experiments, who's getting in your way, who are the blockers, who are the best at running experiments. But what we've seen is the more you push through, after you hit that certain threshold, the quality of your experiments will increase. You'll get more and more wins. And that's usually the point when you hit that amazing big win that makes it all worthwhile, and that convinces everybody that this process was the right way to go. What's one thing that HubSpot, Facebook, Freelancer.com, Google, Amazon, Netflix, and all those small startups eating away at your revenue have in common? That paradigm shift is rapid experimentation. But why would you trust me, right? Instead, trust Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, arguably the most innovative company in the world. I'm actually inspired by one of his latest shareholder letters. I actually have two of his quotes printed next to my desk. The first one is all about speed of experimentation. He says, our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we run per year, per month, per week, per day. So he's basically saying that Amazon's success is a result of the number and the speed of experiments that they run. The second one, which I really love, is about the need for rapid decision making. Being wrong might hurt you a little bit, but being slow as an organization is going to kill you. Now, you might be thinking, I've already heard this a million times. However, the issue we see weekly is that this tends to be applied only to the tech and product side of things, which is why we must include the learnings from Google's former head of enterprise apps, Dave Gerard. He outlines the same problem that in business, speed is seen as an asset primarily in product development. Ship fast, break things. But for some strange reason, this mantra isn't being adopted on the sales and marketing and business side of things. What you shouldn't fail to grasp is that speed matters to the rest of the business too, not just product. So now it's pretty clear that fast equals good. But it's difficult because there's actually relatively little written about how to implement this speed within marketing departments or growth departments other than just product departments. So for the past 2 years, we've actually been focused on helping implement and train around this speed for those departments. And we'd like to share some of the top learnings that we have so far, so you can implement some actionable steps. Lesson number one is that you're looking for that really big win. However, that big win tends to come a little bit later in the process. Most early experiments will fail. You need to fight through those first 5 or 10 experiments to get to your big wins. So you got to try to make sure that you don't lose patience and that your stakeholders don't lose patience either. Now, lesson number two that we've seen is the more experiments you run, the more the quality of your experiments actually increases. Your first 10 experiments will probably be inconclusive. You'll just be learning how to run experiments, if you can run experiments, who's getting in your way, who are the blockers, who are the best at running experiments. But what we've seen is the more you push through, after you hit that certain threshold, the quality of your experiments will increase. You'll get more and more wins. And that's usually the point when you hit that amazing big win that makes it all worthwhile, and that convinces everybody that this process was the right way to go. Now, what's the secret sauce to rapid experimentation? It's no secret at all. It's actually really process driven. We've actually developed a step-by-step process that you can follow. It's called the GROWth process, and you can see all of these steps in this video on YouTube. Step number 4 is again related to speed. We believe that 90% of your experiments should last 1 week minimum, 2 weeks maximum. And if they don't, you're not designing them correctly. Let me break that down for you. Why 1 week minimum? Well, you usually need a couple of days to actually implement the experiment, think about it, and execute it. You need a full week to run the experiment, take into account things like the weekend effect. And then you need 3-4 days to analyze the results of the experiment and see what the next steps are. Why 2 weeks maximum? Well, that's because you've only got 21.5 week slots on average per year where you can actually run experiments. We've also written a whole article on why we think your experiment should last 2 weeks maximum. Point number 5 is to design your experiments extremely clearly. To have one very clear and measurable hypothesis, to have a very clearly defined experiment design where you put the scope of the experiment, who does what the tasks are, how the experiment will be executed. You need to be very clear about what you're going to track, the qualitative data and the quantitative data. And then finally, you need some sort of minimum success criteria. What numbers, what results will you be happy with to call it a win? Point number 6, try to take into account all possible blockers that can happen before you run an experiment. The usual suspect blockers are what we call the immune system of the organization. The immune system tries to keep the organization alive and tries to keep the organization out of trouble. But it also sometimes blocks you from rapid experimentation. These are usually stakeholders, legal, lack of skills, IT, branding, agencies, compliance, risk, politics, and a bunch more that are specific to your company and your situation. Now, whatever you do, don't consider these your enemy. They're trying to keep the company alive and healthy. A lot of these blockers are easy to unblock if you just get them involved and if you have clear guidelines. And if it gets aggressive, win them over with learnings and data. Point number 7, speaking of blockers, what's the number 1 blocker we've seen to implementing rapid experimentation within an organization? It's actually your boss, your stakeholders. If they're not on board, it's going to be an uphill battle. Now, going under the radar and running experiments is fine for some time, but it's just not sustainable. You can also check this recent article from the Boston Consulting Group where they really stress this point. The success of transformation depends on an organization's leaders, especially the CEO. A lot of the time, this is counterintuitive for C-level executives, for your bosses, for the CEOs. They first need to unlearn what they've learned over their 10, 20, 30-year career. And this is the mindset change that needs to happen with those key stakeholders. And this doesn't happen just with consultancy. It happens with changing the way their brains work and convincing them that this is the new way of working. We often joke that if a C-level executive isn't capable of understanding basic code or building a landing page or understanding the basics of APIs, then how is that person going to actually drive the company in this new digital age? And I'm curious what your opinion is about this. What kind of blockers are you running into as you try to run experiments as fast as possible? Is it quality of assumptions? Is it some of the blockers that we talked about? Is it simply the lack of time to execute? We're really curious to know. And if the main blocker is the mindset change, don't hesitate to send this video to anybody who's trying to block you.